کاروان سحر شمعی بباید این شب یلدا. I'm told that I'm going to tell you stories tonight. I'm loud enough, but maybe I can be louder. Feel free to sit down. Stories. Salam. Hi. Yabود. These are just stories. Don't worry about fact checking. How many stories would you like? How about 3? Does it sound good? Let's do 3 stories. Yes, you can close your eyes. I'm not going to show you pictures. I'm not going to show you a book. I'm going to rely on your imagination. یکی بود، یکی نبود. Once upon a time. Many years ago. In fact, 2,000, 3,000 years ago, there was a group of people called Iranians. They loved the nature. So they paid a lot of attention to the nature. They loved watching the sun. They loved watching the moon. They loved watching the stars, the earth, the trees, the days, the nights. Way before calendar was born, they realized that sometimes days get shorter and shorter. You with me? And nights get longer and longer and darker. How scary that was. What if the longs keep getting longer and longer and darker and there's no light afterwards? It is scary. So they decided to stay awake. What did you say? Why? Of course why. Because when you are asleep, you don't have any power or control. So they stayed awake. What if the evil takes over? They stayed awake, and the sun rose. The sun rose. From then on, every year, Iranians stayed awake the longest night of the year, and they celebrated the birth of sun. Of course they picked a name. Of course. No, they did not name it the darkest night of the year. No, they did not name it the longest night of the year. They named it Yelda, the birth of sun. And when the light spilled through the sky, Iranians celebrated the light with drumming and dancing. Of course, whenever you see some Iranians get together in a place, there is food. Yeah. So they were fascinated by this fruit that blossomed in the winter, the harshest pomegranate. It became the symbol of life and resilience. And they added tradition after tradition, dried fruits, dried nuts, poetry, music, stories, one tradition after tradition. Iranians have been celebrating Yelda for almost 3,000 years. another story. Oh, thank you. That would be so weird. یکی بود یکی نبود. Once upon a time, some Iranians left their homelands. Some were forced to save their lives. Some by choice, in quest for freedom and their dreams. Separated from their homeland, holding on to their culture and identity became challenging. When you live in your homeland, you are living your culture every minute of your life. You don't even realize it. But when you are in diaspora, that's a different story. So celebrating every bit and detail of your culture becomes the way to go. So, glorious Yelda celebrations. Despite these glorious Yelda celebrations, Yelda in diaspora was still about memories. The memories they made back in their homeland, and the memories that they are not going to be able to make anymore. The last celebration of Yelda with your grandmother before she passed away. The niece or nephew's first Yelda that you missed. The friends that you got together on Yelda night. You played music, you remember? Sang together, read poetry, danced. The family photos that you're not there. Your mom's keshte, your dad's singing the pomegranate, your cousins fight and jokes over like who has more keshte in the ajir. Yelda in diaspora kept following every bit of the tradition elegantly and dramatically. Yes, pomegranate, persimmon, shirini, everything. But it was still not home. Not home. You know how it feels? It's like me trying to show you guys my emotions in English. I'm trying very hard, but there is a disconnect in my heart. Yelda in diaspora is disconnected. Once upon a time, یکی بود. نه، یکی نبود. یکی نبود. It wasn't even once upon a time. It is 3 آذر 1401. December 21st, 2022. Iranians are mourning around the world. Mourning a 9-year-old whose God is Khodai Rangin Kaman. Mourning the 16-year-old Sarina, who was worried about her country's culture. Mourning the 16-year-old Nika and her lively presence. Mourning the 13-year-old Jabal, 14-year-old Ali, 12-year-old Muhammad, 14-year-old Sadis, 16-year-old Muhammad Iqbal, 7-year-old Hasti, 18-year-old Nima. Mourning for the tied hands of Khodanur. 15-year-old Asra, 7-year-old Helen, 8-year-old Mana. Mourning for the dreams of Mershad, 14-year-old Yelda, 14-year-old Archie, 14-year-old Sepe. Morning, we're singing and dancing up to 20-year-old Hamid Reza, Amin, Siavash, Petram, Kanan, Parsa, Huda, Amir Mehdi, Abulfaz. Morning for the last Kurdi dance of Marsa. Mourning for the mothers who are banging on prison doors. Mourning for the mothers who are in prison, away from their children. Mourning for Dunya. Mourning for the parents who were barred from saying the last goodbye to the body of their children. Mourning for Aida. Mourning. برای شیون مادر محسن. The longest night keeps getting darker and darker. Where is the sun? Iranians are exhausted. Their eyes are tearful. From behind the tears, the seeds of the pomegranate looks like drops of blood, or the hundreds of bullets in Minou's body. But in the midst of this mourning, Majid Reza said, "Don't cry over my grave. Don't cry over my grave. Play music. Celebrate my life." Iranians learned over 3,000 years that if they get together and if they stay awake, the sun will rise. I know this doesn't feel like Yalda, this doesn't. And I know probably nobody, none of you, wants to even on an office. But you know what? Our heroes in the Evans prison, they did it for us. Close your eyes. Make a wish. Ask a question. And listen to the voice of Hossein Shambazadeh from the Evans prison, who did a Fala Hafiz for Yeldای 3 آذر 1401.
سلام من رفقای عزیزم. من دولت رو شنیدم که به یاد من هستی. گوشگردی برای مکفرازی وجود نداره. بسیار ازتون ممنونم. اگه عکس به من کمتر سخت می‌ذاره به خاطر وجود شماست. عادتم رو به رسم من برای این بود که شبای یلدا براتون فال حافظ بگیرم. احساس حال نگرفتم. یه قطعی رو که احساس می‌کردم مطابق حال و مناسب احوالمه تصمیم گرفتم براتون بخونم تا چقدر بزرگتر و چه در نظر آید. بی‌نهایت ازتون ممنونم. بی‌نهایت به وجودتون خوشیدم. بی‌نهایت دوستتون دارم. امیدوارم این روزا بالاخره با پایان خوشی تموم بشه. اومدا که در پیکره‌ها بگشایند، گر از کار فروبسته ما بگشایند، اگر از بهر دل زاهد خود می‌بسند، دل قوی دار که از بهر خدا بگشایند. به صفای دل نام صبوری زدگان، بستر بسته به مفتاح راه بگشایند. نامه تعزیت دختر رز بنویسید تا همه گنبدچگان زلف دوتا بگشایند. گیسوی جنگ ببرید به مرگ پی نام تا حریفان همه خون در موشه ها بگشایند. در بیخود در میخانه ببستند خدایا مبسند که در خانه تزیین ریا بگشایند. حافظ خرمه که دادیم تو ببینید مردا که چه زنار زیرش به دوا بگشایند. ممنونم از وجودتون، ممنونم از حضورتون، پشت گرمم به لطفتون. امیدوارم زنده و آزاد بشیم.
I know Dr. Shams is here. I asked Sarah, what do you want me to say about Dr. Shams and Dr. Kashani today? And I'm just going to quote her. She said, from the next day that Mahsa was killed in Iran, Dr. Shams and Dr. Kashani We're there for anything the Iranian students ask them to. They made themselves available, they supported them in every step. So I just want you guys to know how appreciative the Iranian students are to Dr. Shams and Dr. Kashani. Can you read us a poem?
Stay on the call. Well, thanks for being here, and I apologize if I'm not in the best emotional state today. I had a difficult day waking up, listening to the voice that you just heard, the voice of Hossein Shahrazadeh from Evin prison, who just recited Ghazal by the beloved Persian poet of all time, Hafiz Shirazi. For those of you who don't know Hafiz is regarded as a prophet in the eyes of Iranians. We open Diwan Hafiz when we are about to give up hope, and we open Diwan Hafiz when we are ecstatic with joy. We open Diwan Hafiz when we want an answer for a question. When we knocked on every door and we didn't have a reply, we think that Hafiz can give us something. And you know what? He does. It's not superstition to say that. There is something about Hafiz that makes him untranslatable. I always tell my students whenever I teach Hafiz that I will give it my best, as many other translators have, but really in order to understand Hafiz you need to learn Persian. And a night like tonight, Iranians open Hafiz and make a wish for the year to come. And this year, a whole nation is mourning for the most beautiful, loved faces of the youngest children of the country that have fallen over the past 4 months. And the fall of Hafiz only makes sense when it comes from prison, because they're holding the most intelligent, legitimate, accomplished, celebrated names and people of that country. Over 20,000 remain behind bars as they speak. You only heard the name of 2 who have been hanged, but many more actually have been hanged. A lot of them in Sistan, Balochistan, 2 of them yesterday morning. Their name didn't get any hashtag. They don't trend on social media. They're less of a citizen. Many of them don't even hold identity cards. So we're not celebrating, really. What we're doing here is that we hold every opportunity, especially those moments and those occasions that are symbolically meaningful and precious for Iranians with the 2,500 years of culture and civilization. as a moment, as an opportunity for reunion, for solidarity, for mobilization. That's what we're doing here tonight. Because we truly believe that this is the most symbolic Yelda of all time over the past 43 years. Iranians are determined to put an end to this barbaric regime. And they will do that. It's only a matter of time. Everyone knows that. In order for that to happen, we need to stay shoulder by shoulder. We need to stay united. We shouldn't let the flame that was lit by the state murder of Jina Amini to die out. People are dying in the streets. This is the least we could do. So I urge every single person in this room to stay connected with our wonderful students who have put their lives, their time, and many of them had their exams. And those of you who have gone through university years and college years, you know how difficult and stressful that is. I personally observed how stressed they were to meet deadlines, to go through exams. And I'm so proud of them, so moved by them. As someone who has gone through the same path in 2009 in the Green Uprising, I look at them, I admire them, and I tell them that the victory is in the horizon. Don't lose hope. The poems I'm going to read for you have not been translated, unfortunately, yet. But for those of you who don't understand Persian, I will read two poems. The first one is a poem against poetry in times like this, when cruelty has no end, and writing poetry feels redundant, feels like a crime. And that's the feeling that I, as a poet, have experienced over the past few months. Putting together words as a poem only makes sense if you will be true and honest and loyal to words and their meanings. And I think the only way to be truthful to words in a situation like this is to just stick to what's happening on the ground. So these poems are about what is happening. Many of the lines that you will hear are simple descriptions of what has happened over the past 90-some days. The first one is called "This Is Not a Poem." این شعر نیست، مشتیست خون پاشیده بر روزنامه‌های لال دکه‌های پایتخت. شکلیست از پرتاب شدن ناگهانی دختران سرکش از پشت بام‌های خیابان‌های فرعی انقلاب. این شعر نیست، اعتراف اجباری یک شاهد عینی است از حجم زوال زبان در روایت شلیک‌های پی در پی. کرم چاقی در این شعر راه می‌رود و موریانه ها را یکی یکی از صورت کلمه ها می‌بلعد. کلمه های شکنجه شده مدفون زیر تل انبوهی از خون. این شعر نیست، احشای بدن 10 ساله است که می‌خواست روزی خدای رنگین کمان را اختراع کند. زنجیره است از تپیدگی بدنهای پاره پاره در گورهای گمنام، گیسهای بریده، گونه‌های خراشیده. شب که از نیمه بگذرد کلمه ها بیرحمانه به هم تجاوز خواهند کرد، روی هم اسلحه خواهند کشید، افعال ماضی و حالهای مضارع را به گروگان خواهند گرفت و گیجگاه قیدهای زمان و مکان را با گلوله های جنگی نشانه خواهند رفت. این شعر نیست. این شعر نیست. تن مجروح 15 ساله است چرکین از تجاوزهای پی در پی. سر شکافته دخترکی آوازخوان است با کلماتی له شده در گلو. سینه دریده کارگری زندانی است که تا آخرین ضربه به شکنجه‌گرش خندید. این شعر نیست. داستان زندگی قاتلی است که با خونبهای شاعران سرکش هر شب نان تازه به خانه می آورد. به صبح نرسیده نقش کلمات روی دست این صفحه های سفید باقی خواهند ماند و یکی یکی در گور دست جمعی تنگی با حشرات فربه شده به خاک ابدی فرو خواهند رفت. این شعر نیست. هفته هاست اینجا کلمه ها را از پاها آویزان کرده‌اند، دستهای استعاره و نور را به نرده‌های آهنی قفل کرده‌اند و آب را از حنجره زبان خشک سرود دریغ دریغ دریغ. این کلمات هم مثل ما دستهایشان خالی بود و مشتشان پر از سنگ بود و تنهاشان عریان چون لحظه زاده شدن از بطن زبان مادری. این شعر نیست که در دهان من می‌دود. نوسان نظم رنجی است که زخمی و برهنه در خیابان‌های شهر می‌دود و پای دکه روزنامه فروشی به زمین می‌افتد. And the second poem is about Majid Reza Rahnavard. He was my hamshahri. We were both from Mashhad. He was hanged last week after being put on sham trials and on charges of killing 2 Basijis. There was no evidence for that. The trials happened behind closed doors. They killed him, and then they called his mother at 7 a.m. and they told her to come to the cemetery. By the time she got there, they already had buried her son. This is for him. در زادگاهی که برای من و تو جز نیستی چیزی نداشت، در هنگامه خشم و آتش چشمهایت را بستند و به خیابانت آوردند. همان خیابانهایی که زنان را هر روز مثل تفاله‌ای کثیف و بی‌ارزش قی می‌کند و از درختان کوچه‌های پی در پی شهیدش چوبه‌های دار برای استخوان‌های گردن‌های من و تو می‌سازند. خیابان‌هایی که قرار است در این شعری که بعد از تو می‌نویسم ببندمشان تا آتش از پشت بام هر خانه شعله زند و تماشاگران جرثقیل‌ها را برای همیشه از زادگاه من و تو پاک کند. چشمهایت را که بستند نمی‌دانستند تو بیدارترین کلمات را در گلوی بامداد نجوا خواهی کرد و در دهان تو روشن‌ترین پیام زندگی جوانه خواهد زد. در هنگامه‌ای که خیرگی یأس بر نقاب‌های چرکین مردان خدا آماسیده بود و ترس چون ماری گرسنه صدا را در حنجره‌های لالشان می‌جوید. تو ایستاده بودی و سر مردن نداشتی. وقتی آتش به اختیارها وصیت‌نامه‌ات را می‌خواندند، در رگ‌هایت نیلوفرهای آبی می‌دوید و در صدایت کبوتری که هیچ وقت مرگ پایانش نبوده است. از وحشت حضور تو در خیابان بود که تابوتت را بر شانه کفتارها نشاندند، بی خبر از آن که شفق با آن سرخی ساق‌هایش عقربه‌های ساعت را می‌پایید تا در فریادهای مادرت طلوع کند. با او گفتند به گورستان بیا، کنار ضربه‌های بی‌تپش مانده تکه‌ای از قلبت. مویه‌های مادرت آوازی شد و پیچید در نفس‌های دهان‌های خرد شده خونین ما، در این خشمی که شعله می‌کشد و می‌سوزاند، در حنجرهای آشکار و پنهان ما که هر آینه بر خنجرهای مقدسشان زخم می‌زند. چشم‌هایت را بستند تا صدایت چون شعری بلند تا ابد در تاریخ راه برود و بجوشد، شعری با ردیف استخوان‌های گردنت در گلوی جلادانی که از گیسوان دختران شهر تازیانه می‌بافند. برادرم بخواب که ما خیابان را با رمز نام تو پس خواهیم گرفت، همان خیابان‌هایی که زنان را هر روز مثل طفاله‌ای کثیف و بی‌ارزش قی می‌کند و از درختان کوچه‌های پی در پی شهیدش چوبه‌های دار برای استخوان‌های گردن‌های من و تو می‌سازند. خیابان‌هایی که در این شعر تا رسیدن صبح می‌بندمشان. مرسی.
My profession is working with human pain, so I know pain. I know pain very well, and I can see the pain, and I can recognize pain. Just looking at you guys, I see the pain in your eyes, in the way you're sitting, in your shoulders. And there's another thing I know. Nothing is more healing than human connection. We need human connection to stay awake until the sun rises. We need human connection. So tonight, let's do that. Let's offer each other hugs. And nights like this, events like this, everything that has been happening in Philadelphia, they're all organized by a group of volunteers. Their days are not more than 24 hours. Their days are 24 hours like us. And they're not connected to unlimited source of energy. And you know how they can keep going? With human connection. So if you see them around the room, if you see Sarah, Sepe, Sanas, so many names, offer them a smile. Offer them a hug. And let's get together back in 15 minutes, 7:30. Thank you.